Hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Hello,
Well, thanks for having
hello.
me, Mona.
Good morning. So we're just gonna wait for a few more people.
Okay.
And thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Yay! We're so excited. I can't wait for you guys to hear her story. It's just amazing. So we're just gonna go ahead. Hi, JT. Hi, Dr. JT. Hi.
Hi.
We're just gonna wait for maybe just a minute, and then we'll
Okay.
go forward. We'll go
Not a
forward.
problem.
But I mean, as always, you're looking beautiful.
Thank you. You too.
I love the hair. I mean, I don't know. I was like, I've never. I mean, pink hair. Call it's nice. Is it pink or purple? It's kind of like a mix of two. I love it.
It's pink. It's actually there's a story behind that, but I'll let this just. I guess that's what happens when you stay home for what 6 months with a teenager, and then they start
Oh,
to rub off on you. It's exactly what happens.
yes. You start to become young again. But we love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go right ahead. If you're joining on for the first time, this is the Insta Live series from the EPR Women's Network. EPR Women's Network is a platform where today's professional Christian woman can access the tools and resources to deploy her gifts and talents in the marketplace. Our purpose is to build up and empower women to achieve the best in their personal and professional lives. The network is one of our 4 global programs powered by the Estes Preparation Room, and we currently exist in 3 markets, which is the USA, the UK, and Nigeria. So today we have an amazing guest with us, and I can't wait for you, like I said before, for you to hear so much wisdom impacted. Today's
Okay.
topic is moving forward despite opposition, and we're going to be speaking with Dr. Celestina Ibironke. There's a reason why she's a doctor. she's she's
God.
achieved a lot, but I'm just going to give you a little, like literally very little, a snippet of her bio. Um, Dr. Ibironke is executive director of Diaspora African Network of Powerful Professionals. Wow, what a powerful name. Dano PP. Um, a nonprofit organization a nonprofit organization. She's also the founder of IGC Systems, a minority women-owned business in Howard County, Maryland, which offers professional services to companies in the DC, Virginia, and Maryland area. Like I said before, she's a doctor, so she's achieved so much. She got her bachelor's degree as well as her master's degree from the University of Maryland, and completed her doctorate degree at the University of Phoenix. She has worked in the engineering field for over 16 years for several private and public sectors, consisting of design, construction, informational technology fields. I mean, what hasn't she done? So
Goodness.
it's we just with that said, we welcome Dr. Tina Ibironke.
Thank
Welcome.
you so much, Miss Lamy, for that great introduction.
No, and if you've been in our EPR conferences, you also recognize her from as one of the speakers. I think it was 2018 when she came to speak, and it was just amazing. So if
Thank
you
you.
were there 2018, I'm sure you know what's coming up today. it's she's vulnerable, she's blunt, and she's has so much wisdom. So we're gonna get all of that good
Thank
stuff.
you.
So with that, let's go forward. So we've heard a little bit about your bio, and I know I didn't go in depth into it, but even with that said, people were like, "Oh my gosh, she's a doctor. She has like 3 degrees. She's done this. She has her own business. She has a nonprofit. She's an engineer. She did all of that. She's a mother of 3, and she's a wife." I mean, that's just like, wow. How can I do that? I mean, it must people must think that it must have been easy for you to just get all those things, that you probably didn't have any obstacles or opposition along the way. What would be your answer to that?
Well, thank you so much. I mean, you actually said a lot in terms of how it probably thinks that you probably think it was just a great achievement. But I just believe for each and every one of us, it's all about what God has put in us and just
Mhm.
stepping through and just moving forward. So it's not about, how much or how long, it's just how well. So
Mhm.
if you, there's no, I believe personally, I just believe that as you move forward and towards what God has actually placed in front of you, there's always, it has to be obstacles and challenges. And the way to actually always just to tell the devil to get behind thee is just to keep moving and just ask God to help you. So I want to talk a little bit very, very quickly about a couple of things just to kind of just put everything forward into perspective. But before I go into that, I want to say thank you to EPR Global for actually having me on this platform for this opportunity to be able to share my story. And again, thank God for actually being able to share something at least with people, because I believe we'll all have stories behind where we are right now. We've actually come a long way. So looking back a couple of years, I will say I just want to probably stick with the years being around here in the United States. When I moved here some 24 years ago, I believe that was.
Oh no, it can't be that
So,
ago. Here we go.
because what you just literally just what you read was actually over, yeah, that was a span of about 24 years, and it's still ongoing. And that's the thing; it then never stops.
Mhm.
So coming on board, it was just a matter of you have to do well. And that stemmed, and I do want to emphasize this, that actually came out of my dad saying, you know what, you're actually leaving where probably I'm not going to be able to tell you this, because every day when I was still back at home, my hometown, one thing my father emphasizes, one thing he says all the time is you have to be educated, because
Mhm.
that's what sets you
Yeah.
apart. It doesn't really matter you're a woman. It doesn't matter exactly where you find yourself. Make sure that you are able to pull through. So the driving force behind at least getting, when I actually first started my journey here in the United States, was actually to make sure I get myself educated enough to be able to place at least sit among the professionals, do what I'm supposed to do, and do it well. So I started out just like any other, I guess, student, as an engineering student, thinking everything was just going to work out and things was just going to fall in place. But not really. It didn't quite work out that way. First, I started as a CNA just to kind of get something going. And by the time I
What?
started school, yes, by the time I actually then started school, I realized that, okay, maybe one job will not even work. Maybe I just need to get something else so that I can pay for. Yes, absolutely. So I can actually pay for school, because the opportunity to get scholarship if I was getting out of high school was not there. I was literally trying
Mhm.
to, exactly. So I wasn't there. I've been in college back home. Actually, I came here and I'm starting all over again. So that was one step. Of course, it's not much because everybody had probably, you've probably done the same thing. You've had to work and be in school as well. But
I wouldn't say that.
so
I
it's
think you
not
just downplayed it right there.
special.
That it's not much. It is much. Um, so
But
that I mean, so just to be on track. So basically, you came to a new country and decided that okay, I have to go to school because this is what my parents have instilled in me, and then worked one job, was going to school, and decided, oh, that's not enough. I still need to get another job. Okay.
so yeah, so I just wanted to kind of lay down foundation, and then you see, no, seriously, because then you probably initially coming out of Nigeria, we didn't have to do that. So moving and having to get like two jobs, weekend job, evening job, that literally does not, it didn't give me the back that did not give me the opportunity to actually work with the other students after school, do everything else that I would have loved to do, meaning that they had study groups. I couldn't attend that because I had to be at work. They had probably weekend classes. They studied in the library together. Some of the students actually also, they've tried to do some things together in groups, probably student activities together. I couldn't do all that because there was some other thing that I had to attend to. But that did not stop me from making sure that I'm actually keeping up with the right grades. I wanted to actually
Mm,
get a scholarship as well to make sure I'm right on the right track. And then, of course, I didn't have the opportunity to have the probably constant groups that you probably can just call and say, you know what, this is the problem I'm having, because they already have their own little, and students. It's very
mm,
interesting. Being the only female, black female engineer within my department, also, that was another challenge. So it's a matter of, oh, I know this person because she lives in a dorm. I don't know you, and they wouldn't tell you I don't want to work with you. It's just a matter, oh, I already have a partner. I found myself in situations where I had to work by myself, and it was supposed to be a group work,
mm,
just because there was no other time I could come back to campus. I was not living on campus to actually work with them. And in some cases, they just straight up tell you, I'm not right. I mean, we've been doing this for a while, so we can allow you to actually come on the group. So along, there's probably one thing or the other that you have to deal with. But the point, and at the back of my mind, I have to do this. I have to be successful. I have to move forward. I cannot let this stop me from getting to really where I really want to go or where I needed to be. So talking about moving forward, and obstacles always there along the way. But I had that force behind me and that thought, at least for that period of time, I cannot afford to fail. No, it's not
mm,
even an option. It's not
mm.
an option. I can, everything that I need to do by God's grace, I have to keep doing, keep moving forward. Is it easy? No, it's not. But the point is, there has to be a goal ahead of me that at least at time I wanted to get there and then go beyond. Prove to those people that, you know what, it's okay, it's fine, but I can still do this by God's grace. And I kept moving. So just to kind of cut back on that aspect of education, if you have any other probably any question from that point, I'll move on with
I
that.
mean, I think that that is so powerful what you just said. You said I can't afford to fail. So you set a goal and then you went about achieving a goal. So you didn't just let the goal happen to you. You knew what you wanted and you went after it. So even though like there were so many people that didn't want to work with you, and that's something that is not easy, because I think as human beings we want to be liked. We want to people to like us too. So we want um I feel like that is something that when you don't allow people to set who you are, right? Like what you
No,
you said.
should
You
allow people to find you. Yep.
yeah, exactly. You don't allow people to define you. You already defined your goals, so you knew exactly where you wanted to go. So even in spite of everything that was coming your way, you knew that, okay, they don't want to work with me. Okay, this teacher might not like me. Yes, but I'm still getting to get exactly one. And I mean, it shows. You're a doctor now.
My goodness.
You're a doctor, so it shows. And so my next question then is, okay, so after school, how, like, you've which engineering is not an easy field to go into school. Exactly. Someone just said the only black female in engineering in your department speaks of your tenacity. Exactly. So after school, you're an engineer. You're probably one of the few female or even black females in the engineering department. And then now you want to start your career, and you've already experienced that. How did it go? How was the career experience?
Good question. Thanks for asking the question. And yes, the struggle continues, right? It doesn't really just stop. You'll probably think after college everything will be fine. By that time, I had actually interned. So the internship gave me the opportunity, at least the experience that I needed at a time. So at least coming out of college and was definitely a little problem for companies that really want people they want seasoned engineers. But I was lucky enough, I was able to actually get a job. But that particular company at the end of the day found out I was actually pregnant. That's another story for another time. While I was in While I was in school, after I actually graduated, so I was pregnant with my second child at the time.
Oh, wow.
And he found out and literally told me, I'm sorry, we can't have you. That was after a couple of months. I know, I know. You know how that goes. So, okay, we can have you because, I mean, of course, I was pregnant. I needed a little bit of time off here and there. And so I had to go. And with that happening, of course, it was a little bit upsetting just to kind of find something, and then you thought it was time to move forward, but it wasn't. But at the same time, just you know what, I have to do what I have to do. What's the next step? So I called one of my managers that I actually worked with when I was an intern, and he said, you know what, I have a friend. He just started a company a couple of years ago. He needs a project manager. If you would like to do that, that will be no problem. While I was actually looking for that job, which is a second job, after I left the job, I decided I had to do my master's because I wanted to be more marketable. I don't want to just get stuck and be an engineer. Of course, an engineer is great enough, but I realized that moving on, you have to actually have something on top of what you already have, at least to
Yeah.
become better at what you're doing. So I went ahead and started the registration just in case I don't get a job. It wasn't, but at least I still have something to fall back on. And that's
Wow.
always been my mindset. If it doesn't work out that way, what else can I do? What
Mm,
other avenues are there? What is it that I
mm,
can actually do to make sure that I'm just sitting and upset and I'm happy and I'm just literally just making myself unhappy just by sitting and
mm.
wondering that things that didn't work out. What can I do that will actually work out, even though the other thing is not really going to expand? But luckily, the guy actually gave me the number. I went over to the small company, he hired me, and I started working for him. After 4 years, I moved on to a bigger company. And here we have a company that's been in existence for 200 years. It
Oh,
came with
wow.
a different, yes, it came with a totally different, as far as from the 4 years that I've already spent with a small company, it was different. It was a company that did not have any black person in their or senior vice president and that directorship level. It was a company that was totally, at the time, they were not really, at least from my own department or perspective of the entire company, because at least I did move around a little bit. They weren't really, they didn't have open arms for females that are coming on board because it's been a man's world for a long
Mm,
time. Being an
mm,
engineer, it's a utility company. It's
mm.
man, yeah, it's oriented. The orientation is towards men
Yeah.
because as far back then, only females do the administrative task. That's what
Yeah.
females are tasked to
We're,
do.
we're we're meant to do
So
the the
exactly.
less the
So
work.
females are to get to sit in the office. You can't just be a project manager and just walk to a construction site and give guys directions. So no,
Wow.
they didn't like that. So that was one of the things that I actually came literally as soon as I came on board, I was asking for steel toe shoes that my boss was pushing back. So why didn't they still things that would have literally just gone very smoothly with any other male
Male
in here?
co-worker.
Nope,
Yeah.
it didn't work out that way. So that was the first thing. And one thing I did not stop doing is asking. When I know it's my right, I will ask. They didn't really
Mm,
work out as far as probably other people may say, well, it didn't really work out because after I started asking questions, the first question I asked was, why wasn't I promoted when other people were being promoted? So that was the first question I
mm,
asked. Straight up, very direct. My boss couldn't answer the question because I came with proof. It was an email that was sent out with the background of the person, a female engineer, a white, I'm sorry, Caucasian female engineer that was just promoted that did not have the same education, of course, didn't even have her master's, didn't have the same level of experience, but she was still promoted. So I asked, what's going on here? How do you promote? I need to know the criteria and all of that. The reason why I brought that into the limelight is because we have to open our eyes and see what's going on.
yeah.
And then at the same time, wherever we're able to ask the right questions, it doesn't mean because when you ask the right question, you know exactly where you are, and you don't have to change who you are. You let them, this is who I am, and I'm telling this is what I have, and this is what you've done. So tell me why you're not actually promoting me as well. And that was the first and very last promotion that literally, like,
Wow.
yes, yeah,
So
that was the very first.
okay. So you've said a lot that were just so powerful. Somebody just even said Matthew 7:7, always ask. So the way you said, I'm gonna ask because that's, I'm gonna ask. The Bible isn't behind us in that we need to request, we need to ask, right?
Really,
But I just want to pinpoint some things that you've said that is so powerful that I don't want anyone to lose it. You know, it's like always having a next opportunity mindset. Somebody put that there. You were like, okay, I wasn't getting the job that I wanted at that point in time. I mean, the whole thing about being pregnant and fight, that's a different case. I want to train you. I could file a suit for you
On
for
and on and
that.
on with that.
That's a different case. But even that, because that emotional toll, but you were like, you know what, I'm not going to let the devil work in my mindset, right? I'm going to have a next opportunity mindset. And I think a lot of people need to hear that, especially now during this COVID period. Maybe you're out of work. Maybe you don't have as much work, you know. Always have that next opportunity mindset. He says an idle mind is the devil's workshop, right? So you didn't decide to stay idle. Even though you were pregnant, you would have been justified. You were
That
like,
you do.
no, I'm going to go forward. And then because of that, I believe that you were able to get all those opportunities. And now you're in this big company and then there's still pushback. Okay, we think that
Yes.
the bigger company is always the better. Bigger is
And
better, but it seems not so much here.
it's not so much that you the way you will actually think. And if I may just add to what you said,
Mm-hmm.
the pushback actually got literally propelled me into registering for my doctoral program. Because I'm like, if you're not going to,
Mm.
yes, you're gonna pay for something, you're gonna make my life better. You're
Mm.
gonna have to. There's something you have to do. This company,
No, it's good. It's good
you're
because
not gonna go scot free. You have to sow something in my life. I'm getting
mm,
something out of here. So
mm,
it was a push, one. Then at the same time, it literally also, there was a part of me that God was literally trying to build. And that's a part of, you can't just think about yourself. Now, other people that are probably going through this, how can they see things from a different perspective or do things differently so that they wouldn't have to go through the troubles and the challenges and trying to maneuver and fall into the same holes and all that. So those were the things that that particular period really helped me. I had to
mm.
navigate through. Yes. So yeah, that was how the doctoral program you taught, that was actually how it came about. It was because the company was
I mean, see, I know a bit about your story, but yes, that I didn't even know that there was like it was the pushback that made you go for it, like you got to pay for this. But speaking about that, you know, one of the things that we've been learning lately, I think I've been learning lately, is that wherever you're at, there's a purpose for it,
there is
right?
absolutely.
So even though at this point in time in your life, it's a company that doesn't really respect who you are as an individual, like a black female engineer.
Yeah,
But at that point in time, you were positioned rightly to get your doctorate paid for. Right?
absolutely got
Yeah.
that.
And and I know we're going to get to that right now. I know that that was not the only thing that he pushed you to do, because I think your nonprofit came out of that, right? So maybe
Um,
you can tell us a little bit, because I'm so excited about that. You can tell us a little bit more about how that came into being and um.
So it was actually out of my personal passion for not wanting to allow people that are coming on board. One or two engineers, when they started with the company, reached out and asked what they can actually do and asked about their bosses and just a couple of things that they wouldn't normally get from anybody else. And that was one thing that actually started the after hours. We actually called it at the time was a happy hour. And that purpose at the time was to get together. Number one, find out what you're going through within the company. Number
Mm,
two, see how we can help you. And
mm,
a lot of things were actually born out of the fact it was happy hour, but we structured it at the time, and I really wanted it to be different. So I took it upon myself. I set an agenda. I make sure I reach out to people at the time and all that. And I'm not giving myself the credit, but I'm just saying that I realized that it was a platform, a relaxed environment. We're not at work
mm,
because, of course, if you're at work, it's something that might be probably people may not feel uneasy about just sitting
yeah.
down doing that. It was outside of work. So we would sit down and we would ask around the table, what are you going through? What do you think your challenges are? And fortunately, we had someone that was not an engineer that just literally joined the company from a different company. So he was hired in the customer service department as a manager. So at least from that perspective, there were some things he could offer. So he joined the team. We invited him. He joined, and the little tips that he gave us literally right now has actually helped people to be at the direct. And I thank God for that at the director level. That right, they started as an engineer one, and if not for those tips and help, and literally at work, they will tell you, "Oh, this boss, why don't you apply?" To kind of navigate around. That was how we learned that you don't have to stay in the engineering field to build your career. You can literally within the company, if you want to, step out to a department that's not, or a division that's not really engineering based, and they see you as someone with,
Mhm.
oh yeah, this person has probably something slightly higher than every other person. They'll promote you, and then you can find your way back. So a lot of things that we wouldn't probably normally, because I missed the opportunity to have a mentor, a sponsor, or a coach when I joined the company. So that platform started, and it did literally help a lot of people to move without having to go to move forward. And Danop came out of that. So I left the company. I didn't tell the story because to that point, because God wanted me to move forward. So
Mhm.
literally was actually God ordained. So I left the company to start my own company. And but prior to actually leaving officially, I started the DANOP, which is Diaspora African Network of Powerful Professionals.
Wow, I love that name. I love it. Yes.
And the purpose is to pave the way for others that are coming. Why
Mm,
should they go through the pain? Why should they go through the same problem, the challenges that we faced? If we have a better way to help those people out, why can't we just do that? Let's lay the foundation. Let's meet together. Let's find ways to actually step these people through and not just tell them from afar, oh, yes, I had to go through the same thing. And people do that. So maybe you have to face the same music. No, if
mm,
we can actually reach out to each other, connect each other within ourselves, find sponsors, find the mentors that we need, even coaches, and just be able to uphold each other and build each other, I think it's actually a great thing. That was how Dano came about.
wow. Wow. I mean, I'm gonna repeat, I love that name. But one of the things that, we're talking about moving forward despite opposition, right?
Yes,
So that you were no, we've talked about being positioned in the place that you're at, in that opposition to move you
no,
forward, right?
mhm.
So, but one of the things that you said is that I didn't just want to, it wasn't just about me, it was about other people as well. And that's one of the things that helps you move forward. The fact that you were trying to help somebody else, and that's how Dine Up came about. It wasn't about, oh, just me. How do I get this? How do I get that? It was about how do I help people that are in the same position as me. And because of that, you were able to not only move out of that environment, which is a little bit toxic, but also carry along this new nonprofit that will allow other people to be able to walk in a better road than you had, right?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think that's just powerful because one of the things that we're learning in this COVID period is a new normal, right? A lot of people are going through so much and they don't know they have this opposition. The opposition, some of them, COVID is something that you can't see, right? And it's something that you can't really battle against. How do you move forward? By trying to think about not just yourself, number
I
one.
know. I know. How can I help somebody else? I don't get out of
How
my
can
own.
I help somebody
Absolutely, I
else?
agree. I
What
agree.
am I going through? Is there anybody
I
else
agree.
going through it? And you said I made sure it was structured. So you're doing something, but you're not just doing it haphazardly. You were structured in the way you went about doing it. I thought that's amazing. Maybe now my own question is because I want to be part of the Diaspora African Network
African
of
network.
Powerful Professionals. Um, how can I join? Like, is it just for people that are in the engineering field, or is it something that is open to everybody?
Absolutely, it's open to everybody. And you mentioned something earlier. There's a new norm, right?
Uh-huh.
In the past, what we've done, and the reason being that, like I said, I really wanted the connection in terms of people helping each other. So what we'll actually do with, along with the other professionals, we will have seminars, we will have workshops, we will have conferences, I've had situations where, and this is, I guess it's just a personal thing that I realized that not having it, there's some mistakes I've actually made. I've had my personal banker actually come to actually hold a workshop. I have one-on-ones. I have my financial
Mm.
advisor because I want to, and this other people, and please, I'm trying to say this so that it wouldn't sound as if it's nothing that's probably so special or anything, but it just came out of the passion that people, we need to be honest with each other. So instead of, why would I want to bring someone that will exploit you? So in that was, yeah. So the connection, I was just trying to explain that the platform back then was, that was how we actually did most of our meetings. It was most of workshops and conferences, and of course there is the social media as well, where people actually would do hold a few sessions live and all that. So I didn't have it as part of, oh, you have to be a member or this. It's literally about a need that will actually be met along the way. So in some instances, I will partner with like women conferences or people that organizations, nonprofit organizations, to actually bring that to them. And in some cases, I will actually have my team will organize the workshop and the seminars and the programs. Now we are working on just informational training sessions online. We are working on virtual groups, which will now allow anyone from any part. So it's not just Maryland, Virginia, DC, which is always, it was restricted to that because of the way we were actually communicating or having the program, the way we laid out the program at the time. But now we're actually having group, and that's why I literally took out the website, because which we initially had in the very beginning, because all we did was just to kind of announce and make people aware of what was going on. Now it's going to be formal sessions and trainings and workshops they can actually do online, and of course groups that can, if you are probably in a certain career, you can actually meet with those people that can actually help you virtually, of course.
Oh
Since
wow,
COVID,
that's
it's a COVID,
amazing.
it's a
No,
COVID
that's amazing. I think that's
season.
something that we all really need. There was a question in the comments that said, "Is there an age limit?"
No, there isn't. And the reason, at least I did not set any, I actually had it as professionals. We have, however, we have the youth and the young adult part of that. So I actually literally have that as a separate part of it. And what I did and what I've been doing prior to this year, when we have not been able to actually do much, was actually most of these professionals, I will reach out to them and ask them if their business, their company will allow the children to come as an intern for one day and learn from what's going on. So for those young adults and youth, in addition to actually having to do probably mentoring, one-on-one mentoring sessions for them, these professionals that we actually gather together to um, um, learn from each other and do those workshops, I also ask them to help nurture the younger generation as well, which is young. So when you say age limit, I'll probably say from as far as professional are concerned, as long as you have started working, which is probably 21 and up. But for the younger generation, there's a separate platform
Right.
for them. So that's, I guess that's the difference as far as the
Oh,
age is
that's
concerned.
good. So
Right.
yeah, so they too can get to, get this great opportunity that you're offering. I have a question, and this is for me actually. So, so you're in to be in corporate America, you're a Black female. For me, especially, I'm like one of the only Black females in corporate America, and sometimes it feels like you have to tiptoe about what you want. We just spoke about always asking, always doing that. Um, how do you go about, you have this obstacle in your way of you're trying to move forward. How do you go about, in that setting? How would you go about giving us advice about, okay, making sure our voices are heard, you know?
That is actually a very good question, because actually your question reminds me of something that happened when I was actually in corporate America. Just and at the time, the first thing is, oh yeah, I want to keep my job. That was earlier. Oh, I don't want to say much. But then I realized that if I don't make myself known, and please don't get me wrong, there's some situations where you really have to pray about it before you step forward. You just don't want to
Mm,
jump.
Mm.
So they started by actually establishing the young engineers group or team, whatever they call that. In those kind of firms, I make myself visible. So I go and
Mm.
yes, I attend those sessions. I ask questions. And believe it or not, I sit in the front and I make sure I get on my questions, make sure I'm actually well prepared, research what's going on. So it's not a matter of you're just throwing things out there and then you probably don't know what's going on. So you position yourself, you make yourself known, seen. Then the other things that I was able to do, they had other organizations as well. And I would volunteer and those other organizations which probably they have at the time they normally will support United Way. United Way is a huge organization that they do support at the time. They raise a lot of millions of dollars for them. So I will volunteer because it's one of I guess the most for the most part it's either the president of the company or the vice president that's literally holding that
Mm.
at the time that will actually hold those partnership with United Way. So he will always be at the forefront and trying to probably go from building division to actually encourage people. So I will volunteer because I wanted to have an opportunity to actually meet and just get to know who probably the person is, more about the person and see if it's the person that's probably approachable. So I'll do those kind of research just to know who to approach and who not to approach. Yes, I got a mentor as well, and that was at the latter end. Unfortunately, the female mentor that I had at the time, I thought it was the best, was also not. She wasn't trying to. She couldn't fight for me straight up. Let me
Mm.
just say it that way. She couldn't fight for me because she also wanted to get somewhere and she did not want to just ruffle any feathers while she's trying to help me out. So she would tell
Mm.
me this, but she couldn't really do much. So part of the things is find your at least a group that you probably think alike. Yes, you
Mm.
may not always find probably the black or the female or that you are probably in the same field or whatever, but people that hopefully around the company that you can probably think, okay, this person I can actually live with, because their perspective as probably a woman of, if you're a woman of color and the Caucasian, you might be able to get something out of it. What am I saying? There was a female engineer also that decided to have a Caucasian male as her mentor. I learned from that you
Mm.
needed to diversify. Yes, there's nothing wrong with you having a female mentor. There's nothing wrong with you having a black mentor. There's nothing wrong with you having a Caucasian mentor. You will actually see their perspective from all the three sides. And you can, by God's grace, move forward by choosing the best,
Mm.
probably of whatever advice or experience from the experience, you can actually move forward because they have their own part to play and so
Yeah.
in different ways. So the Caucasian, they probably move with a different. The male Caucasian probably has their own male team that he moves with, and you have the female, and you have. So yes, trying to find the people that you can actually connect with that you probably think alike is one. Another person is finding mentor that hopefully also is actually looking for the best for the best for you, and not just someone that's probably thinking, "Oh, so what is this black woman looking for?" And one thing I did was I made sure I met with every single vice president in company, every president in the company. I made sure I met with them. I wanted to know what their
Mm.
perspective was. I wanted to know what their thought process was. I wanted to know exactly what they're thinking about the engineers. I wanted to know what they were doing about it. I really wanted to know what was going on beyond my the director, my manager that keeps giving us information that God knows where to get it from. So I wanted to have that firsthand, direct connection and information from them. And lastly, before I stop, when I attend any of those events, which I have no business attending, I'm in engineering, I'm going to customer service, trying to attend, trying to just make sure I'm there. I make sure that I really literally make myself known. What am I saying? One of these one of the one of during one of these meetings, a vice president walked up to me and said, Tina, you just show up here looking all good. You just want to show, and
I love that.
and I'm like,
So you
you
must
have
be
to
looking good when you're
reckon
going to those
you
meetings.
when I show up. And I'm like, you have to reckon with him whether you like it or not. So please, let's lay a good foundation. Is actually very good, especially when we present ourselves. It actually goes a long way. And make sure we connect with the right people and look for those people that will actually help us, that move us forward. It's great.
I mean, thank you. That was a lot. I mean, for me, one of the things I mean, first of what you said was that, you have to go to God. We can't take him from the equation. And I agree wholeheartedly that the first person that you go to when you're in this kind of situation is God, because he's the one that will turn anyone's heart towards you, right? He has their hearts in their hands. And one of the things the major thing that I got from what you were saying is you need to do the work. You need to do the
You
work.
have to.
And we had a leadership meeting in EPR, and one of the things that we were talking about is I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, and sometimes we limit ourselves because of our personalities
Oh,
and
yes.
don't network. So what you're telling us is like basically go out there. It might not be exactly your department, like you said. You went to your customer service
Just want
shit
to
that was happening, and you went there, and that was actually where you got noticed. Where you were not supposed to be somehow, right? So basically going out there and doing the work, because unfortunately, as women of color, we have to put in a lot more effort. And we're talking about, moving forward despite opposition. That itself is an opposition in this world, right? So
it
you have
is.
to move beyond everything that it's been told to you or has been the label that has been put on you. So I really enjoyed what you're saying, because, and I'm going to apply it, because sometimes I'm like, oh, they're doing a networking event. Even during this COVID, they're saying they're doing this webinar, and I'm like, oh, I don't
I
know.
know.
I don't know. There's a lot of webinars. I don't know if I want to do this. So now I know. Despite what I might be feeling, despite what I might be going through, put myself out there and look for a mentor and diversify. Don't let,
Right.
just because I'm black, and because I'm black, I normally gravitate towards other black people.
It happens, yes.
So,
Everybody,
but
everybody pretty much.
but not do that, because everyone um has a part to play, right?
We
You're
all
trying
do.
to break that barrier, and usually it's maybe the guy that you're not talking to that's going to help you break that
It's
barrier.
exactly God has placed there to help
Yeah.
you.
So not limiting yourself. Someone said sometimes I feel zoomed out. Yes, yes, there's so many conferences, there's so many this, there's
That's
so many
so
that,
very
and you don't
complicated.
know, maybe the next one that you do go to is exactly what
It's where
God is going to impact something
exactly.
into you,
Very,
where God is going
very
to
good.
show you. So you might feel, like you said, zoomed out. You might feel burnt out from every conference, but earlier on we said set your goal, right?
You have to set a goal. You have to keep
So set your goal.
moving. That's
So
it.
what is your goal? That's what, if your goal is to just let a position be the best of you, right? Then you can
Oh,
sit there
no.
and not do the work, right? And then we wouldn't be talking to Dr. Ibironke, right? You would just we would be talking to somebody different, because you didn't let the opposition, you didn't let the things that happened to you, just define you. You set your goal,
Oh,
and then you went forward to it. I mean, thank you so much. I mean, maybe just in a couple of maybe a few minutes, if you can give us some advice that you want to give to, like, people that are the young ones that are coming up, and people that, like me, that are in the corporate world, that just a couple of nuggets, as we go about our lives, you know.
thank you, Ms. Lamin, for that question. And from what you've said, physically, it's definitely part of what we talked about today's what we think. I personally think people need to also follow that steps of making sure that they're pushing themselves out there. Unfortunately, or maybe it's, I don't know, maybe fortunately, unfortunately, black, then female, and also when you find yourself in an environment where maybe it's not normally, we don't normally find black people or female or whatever there. That means you even have to push farther. So my advice is, number one, know who you are.
Mm.
And I say that because if you're not really confident in yourself, then how in the world are you going to convince someone else? And I know we hear that a lot, but more than anything else, the 11 years that I spent at that company made me to realize that I need to stand in my own, I need to be comfortable in my own skin. It doesn't matter how many times somebody asks me, "Oh, I'm sorry, could you say that again? Oh, where are you from? Oh, well, yeah, where does this?" It doesn't really matter. You're not going to move me. I'm still the person that God created me to be.
Mm,
I have a purpose to fulfill, and you're not going to stop me.
mm,
So that mindset helped me a whole lot because there are times I would just sit down. Initially, I thought that was the final point. I guess when it came to my professional life, I thought that company was it's a huge company. It's a big company. They pay very well, and at the same time, it's stable. So I thought the next 35 years, that was the mindset I had at the time. But then God literally pushed me and said, no, this is not the end point. You need to move forward. And my advice, like I started saying, is once you know who you are and what the purpose of God is actually for you, you will get up every day and say, you know what, that purpose I need to fulfill. What is the next step? Sometimes you're tired. It's not easy. I can tell you from experience, when I left my job, when I stepped out to actually start my home business, the first thing I asked is God, so where am I going? What am I going to do? But at that time, I knew that God wanted me to move to a phase, not just moving out and not just being my own business, but I need to impact lives as well. So it's not business as usual. I'm not just doing things that's okay, I'm doing this business, I'm going to make millions of dollars, and that's going to be it. Then what? My mind literally went to the fact that you need to change lives. You need to help people. You need to
mm,
make them a better person. Your business is not just for you. How can you do the business honestly so that people also will actually see that and say, you know what, maybe that we should actually change the way we do things. So for each and every one of us, once we find ourselves that we know what God has created us to be, who God has created us to be, the next step here is knowing that purpose and focusing on it.
mm,
Just literally zoning in on it.
mm.
So whatever comes from the left, from the right, should not sway you by God's grace. It's not by your grace. It
Yeah.
wouldn't because you look ahead. You need to have a driving force by it. And that's one thing that's also been an added factor for me lately. Looking at the purpose of up front, it's like, oh God, I'm dragging. What's going on? It's one driving. It's something that drives me. I have a family. I have a sister. She is a special need, and I just want to say this just to kind of wrap this up. She has, especially she's in a wheelchair, and one thing over the years, I mean, the years I spent with her before I actually got married, one thing that I've never seen her do is complain.
Mm.
She
Wow.
never complained about her situation. Like I said, she's in a wheelchair and she needs help for most of the things that she needed to do. But when you sit around her and your face, probably your face is not probably looking as great, she'll ask you, so what's going on? And then with that, she'll tell you, you know what, you need to tear off and just look better, make you laugh. So you're leaving that place not with the problem and the burden in your heart. You'll probably leave that place smiling.
Mm,
Every time she probably has probably a situation where things are not probably as much, there's nothing going on, she'll start singing. She's always happy. That's her way of changing the environment and the world around her.
mm,
That's a way of impacting her, not focusing on her situation, but the
mm,
change around her to make people happy, to make sure that people's mind are not just dull and depressed around her. And it kind of lifts her spirit. When I look back every time I think about her situation, I'm like, Tina, you better get up and do what God has actually asked you to do. You
mm,
cannot stop. You have a part to play and you have a purpose to fulfill. Get up and keep going. It comes back. For some period, it's been my driving force over and over again when I think about her. So I just want to tell you, for everyone on here on this platform, that once you have a purpose, zone on it, just zone on, zone, just right, just look at that purpose and say, God, you've given me this. I'm going to get this done, and make sure you just focus on it and keep going. And with God, all things are possible. So I can say,
man. I mean, I can't say anything to that. That is just that's it. That is it. I mean, you've given us so much information, so much, and I thank God for your sister's life. First of all, I thank God that, even now she's inspiring us, right? So thank you for that information. Thank you. You said purpose, zoning on your purpose, try and help somebody else. You know, your obstacle moves along. You're in there for a reason. You know, God is there with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Thank
I mean,
you.
I'm gonna go back and listen. This is gonna be on IGTV. I'm gonna go back and listen. There were so many nuggets that you've given to us, and I need to go back and write it down and learn from it. Um, so I know we don't have much time. I know there was a question, but we're running really quickly. So I'll just say take that one question, even though I feel like she's kind of given us a little bit of the answer already.
Already, okay.
And I think someone said, what advice do you have for someone that's starting over in a new career?
If you're actually in a new career and you very, of course, it's something that you probably found out that you really have to do. If you're starting out, I will say one thing, please, 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 get yourself a mentor. I said it earlier. Do your due diligence to get a mentor, you get a sponsor if possible, and get yourself a coach. A mentor definitely will give you a better advice as to where or what that new career is all about. Hopefully, it's someone that will tell you the mistakes they've made and how they've been able to navigate what's good, what's not, what you need to avoid, what you need to look out for. A sponsor, on the other hand, if you can get one, they use probably their position. Hopefully, maybe I'm not. It might not necessarily be in finances because when you hear sponsors about money, no. Sometimes their position, they probably have the authority to say, you know what, this is my friend. I want you to put this person in his position or teach this person, maybe someone within the company, talking about the career. So I'm not sure exactly what field. Maybe it's an organization or maybe by yourself. Regardless, there's someone that's walked that path before. So get yourself a
Mm,
mentor, get yourself a sponsor that has that authority to help you to get the resources that you need to be successful. And finally, get a coach. You don't do everything. So someone needs to coach you through, just like a football coach or something coach, to coach you the skills, what you need to be successful in that particular career.
wow, thank you. Thank you. That's word for me. So thank you, Dr. Ibironke, for
Well, thank you.
thank you for being on here. Again, you can see her tag is on there, if you wanted to reach out to her for a nonprofit. Um, she has so much going on there, so you can reach out to her on Instagram. You can see
Instagram
her
and Facebook, yes,
on
ma'am.
Instagram and Facebook, or shoot her an email. So I don't know if you can type your email so that people
I will do that.
can
Yeah.
have that there for reference sake. Thank you again for having us. So this is Instagram Live, and this is a part of EPR Women's Network. We do this every week. And if we're not doing this, then we're doing a webinar. So thank you for joining us. EPR has so much coming up. We have our conference. Yay! I'm so excited for our conference. It's called Illuminate. Save the date. It's November 20th and 21st. I'm so happy about what we have. So many people come in, and we have so many people that are going to impact knowledge onto you. And I know people are like, I'm not sure, another Zoom or another. It's it's not going to be the same. Trust me on this. It's not going to be the same. So save the date. It's going to be amazing. You're gonna if you miss it, I don't know what to say. Anyway, but apart from that, we also have our command the week, and we also have our Holy Ghost every the first 3 days of the month. So right now we're in September. So the next one will be October. So the first 3 days, mark your calendar. It's usually, I say usually, it's always powerful. We get a lot of insight into different things about what's going on in your life and other people's lives. So you want to mark that down. But thank you again for joining us. So we're gonna sign off now. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, APR Global. Have a blessed day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye, everyone.